If you're training for an Ironman or any long distance endurance event, this video is going to save you hundreds of pounds each single month. Now, most of us appreciate that once we get into, say, ultra endurance, things can get a little bit pricey, and especially when you get into the world of Ironman training. Now, all these ultra endurance events, from Ironmans to marathons to ultra marathons, all require a lot of carbohydrates to keep you fueled so you can perform at your best. Now, in this video, I want to take you through my DIY carb gel mix that you can do yourself at home. I'm going to provide links, a screenshot at the end of the video so you can refer back to that whenever you're making your gels. Now, what's really important is these gels are easy to use on the go. And this is one of the massive pros about gels like this. You can easily rip it off, take it down, throw the sachet away when you're done with it. But this 30 grams of carbs here costs you about £2.30 per gel. Just the other day I had a big cycle to do and I'd forgotten to prep my own gel, so I had to use my backup stash of pre-bought gels. I ended up using 10 gels in that time. So that cost me £23 that cycle. Now you can see one endurance cycle done 4 times a month, roughly £100 a month. That's just one session. So when you look into one of these gels and you look at the ingredient list at the back, the ingredients are just here. You've got maltodextrin, water, fructose, a gelling agent, which is the pectin, that's the stuff that makes it a bit thicker, an acidifier, so citric acid, which we're not actually going to be putting in, and some calcium lactate and some potassium sorbate. So those last 3 bits we're not going to be putting in. So we're going to keep this real simple and maintain these 3 ingredients. Now, one of the best bits about making your own gels is you can create your specific per hour gel requirement in one gel. For instance, I like to take in 90 grams of carbs per hour on the bike, and on the run I normally take in about 60 grams. So in this video I'm going to make my gel for tomorrow's cycle, and my cycle is just over an hour, so I'm going to be making a 90 gram of carbohydrate gel. Now you can obviously apply this to your specific ratios, but the main thing we want to remember is that 2-to-1 ratio of glucose to fructose. So enough chatting for now, let's get into it. So first things first, we're going to need a measuring jug and a set of scales. Then we're going to grab our maltodextrin. Now because we're making my 90 grams of carbs carbohydrate gel, we're going to need around 60 grams of maltodextrin just to get that 60 grams of carbs. To be precise, you actually need 63, because for every 100 grams of maltodextrin is 95 grams of carbs. So if you want to be precise, we're going to want 63 grams of maltodextrin. So 63 grams. There we go. Now, fructose is our next ingredient, and this one is 100 grams of carbs per 100 grams of fructose. So real nice and easy. We're going to want 30 grams of fructose. So zero that out. It's at 30 grams. 32 grams. There we go. We'll take. Now, last but not least is we need that gelling agent, that thickening agent. And that's where the pectin comes in. So you often see this in things like jams and stuff, so it gives it that nice thick texture. So we're going to want a 1/4 teaspoon. So ideally you have one of these like already serving spoon things. So we're going to want a 1/4 teaspoon, and then sprinkle that in there like so. And now we have our gel mix. So we're going to give that a good mix with a fork. Now we need to add the water. So what we want to do is measure out the amount of water that we need in a separate container and add the dry ingredients to that, just so it mixes better. Then the amount of water you need is how much maltodextrin you used, is how much liquid we're going to need. Now, because we're going to be making my favorite DIY carbohydrate gels, I like either an espresso one or one of these ginger shot ones. This is unreal. When you're feeling a bit tired and you just want that little bit of flavor, this has a real nice kick, and the ginger just sits really nicely in your throat. It's not too harsh, but it's enough flavor where it's a bit cleansing of the palate. So when you're taking in a lot of gels, I love the unflavored ones because there is no real flavor fatigue, but sometimes it's nice just to add something like this in. So you can mix whatever you want. You could go, as I said, we've got coffee, we've got something like this. You could put something like Ribena, some squash. You could put like some lemon juice, loads of different things. Or you could just leave it like this, mix it with some hot water, and you've got an unflavoured one. So it's completely down to you. But I'm a big fan of this stuff. So let's get making this ginger shot gel. Now, what we will need to take into consideration is we are going to want some boiling water, because that's going to help the mixture essentially melt together and mix, and then we can stick it in the fridge afterwards. So all I'm going to do is use 30 grams of this ginger shot. Okay, make that 33 grams. And then I need a further 30 grams because we had 63 grams of maltodextrin. So we're going to go for 63 grams total. 61, can we do it? 63, ideal, boom. Now, what we're going to do is slowly start mixing this into here. So I'm going to give it a little spread across and then start to give it a little. Oh, this already smells lovely. That ginger smells great. So just keep adding, say about a third at a time. So started off with roughly a third, and we add another third, and then we'll finish it off. This might seem like a lot of work, but the savings in money, when you're doing a year-long prep for an event like an Ironman, something like that, that's a hell of a lot of money. So we're talking about, if you're saving £200 roughly a month, that's going to save you nearly 2.5 grand by the end of the year, just on gels. Now, I'm not saying you should stop having gels, because gels are very convenient. But what I'm showing you today is also pretty convenient as well. You just have the ag of actually making it up, which you can start to see now. It's that real nice thick texture, and it will get thicker when it's left in the fridge. So that pectin will really start to work well and create a nice thick gel. Not too thick though, but thick enough. If you've had the precision hydration ones, it's around that similar sort of consistency. Right, so that's all now nicely mixed up. Let me show you the finished product. So as you can see here, it's nice and thick, but as I said, it will get thicker. So next up is the actual getting this into a practical container that you can then use on a run or while you're on the bike. So let's do that now. So Rob, these are so convenient. All we need to do is rip them off, take the gel, throw it away. That is true. And also we do want to take into consideration race course specific nutrition as well, especially if you're going to be using the aid stations. And a lot of Ironman events, especially the ones in the UK, have precision fuel hydration. So it is really important to train for your specific event with the stuff that you're going to be given on the race course. But when you're firing off out and you're doing all this training, this is a perfect opportunity to use things like these DIY gels. So this is convenient. Easy, take gel, done. I found 2 separate containers, and I found them beneficial in their own separate ways. So first of all, we have the Morton soft flask. So this one's really nice. I found it on a website. I think it was X Miles. I'll put the link in the description. But these are the Morton ones, and these are really good. These can hold up to 150 ml of liquid. So that 90 gram gel, as you saw there, was about 65 grams of liquid. So plus all the stuff, fully melted, maybe say about 70 grams of liquid. So, or 70 ml liquid. So that'll be plenty of space in there. I also found these ones on Amazon. Similar sort of thing, 150 ml soft flask. But the difference is with these two, this one has a nice top like that. So you just take it out of there, which is great. Problem with the Amazon ones was it has one of these bite down bits like that to get your liquid. That's not really that convenient with the gel. But when you take off of that, you're left with that inside. So then when I'm running, I just put that back on, and I put that lid on like that. So that's a really good container as well. So I think they both have their good purposes. This one I found was a little bit easier to kind of portion out. This one was a lot free flowing, shall we say, but they both work fantastic. So for the 90 gram gel, I'm going to be using this Morton one. So let's get pouring. So you get your soft flask, and then you can slowly pour it in, steady hand. Now, I'm not going to let that go to waste. I am going to lick that bowl, so because it's very tasty. So we then put the lid on, and there we have it. We have our own gel, 90 grams of carbs at a fraction of the cost. So I'm going to shove this in the fridge now, let it cool down, and this will be ready for me in tomorrow's cycle. So the main reason we make these gels is for that cost saving. So doing the quick calculations, I bought the the maltodextrin, fructose and pectin on Amazon. So the maltodextrin for 2.5 kilos coming at £10.99. The fructose, which was a kilo, coming at £8.99, and the pectin, which was 100 grams, coming at £5.39. So what I've done, I then broke down and worked out per gram how much each of these things cost. So I'll put it up on the screen here so you can kind of see the calculations. But for that 90 gram gel that we just made, in maltodextrin, costs 28p, in the fructose costs 27p, and the pectin is very negligible. It was half a penny, so we're going to say 1p just to round it up. So in total, that 90 grams of carbs as a gel cost 56p. Now you compare that to the precision hydration one, so that really puts into perspective when you're doing these long sessions on the bike or going out for long runs, it's definitely worth the cost saving. Now, 2 of these did cost a tenner. All right, so you have got to take into consideration, okay, these reusable flasks are going to cost you £5 a pop. So that is going to be a cost. You also have to take into consideration your flavouring. If you use coffee, that's a cost. If you use the ginger shot stuff, that's a cost. If you use squash, it's a very minimal cost, but it's still an extra cost. So that 56p will go up. And obviously, depending on the quality of the ingredients and what you're using, obviously can vary. But even if it took it up to £1, you're still a hell of a lot cheaper. So it's definitely worth playing around with this and finding out your best mixtures, kind of what tastes best for you when you're on the bike or going out for a run. And for the little bit of time that it takes, it really, as you saw, it doesn't take long. It's definitely worth that investment. But I also feel one of the biggest benefits is that you can make the gel specific to your hourly carbohydrate rate. So if you wanted 100 grams of carbs per hour or 50 grams of carbs per hour, you could have pretty much up to around 150 grams of carbs an hour in one of these flasks. So say you bring that down to say about 140 just to make sure it all fully fits. That's so much that you can make specifically for yourself in one of these things. And then what you do, these really compress down into nothing. They can just go back in your pocket with what you're running with as well. So real easy to store. You get home, quick wash, and then you're done. So I hope this video really helps you save a load of money and you start making your own gels. If you've got any questions, drop it in the comments down below. I'll put an image here that you can screenshot so you can easily have something that you can refer back to when you're making your own gels, just for ease. So thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.